Okay, class. So here are some Photoshop extras, for maybe ideas to help you, use Photoshop for some imagery for your article. Um, so I'm going to show you a couple things that I did. This pattern that you're looking at right now. Um, this was created just with paint and ink, and I had a cardboard paper roll similar to maybe like a tissue paper roll, and I just dipped it in ink and I put it on the page, right? And I stamped it. Well, you can do this with any object um, in Photoshop. So I took the picture, I brought it into Photoshop, and I saved it out as a TIFF. So this allows me the opportunity to place this um, in my layout. You did something similar to this earlier in the semester, so we're just kind of revisiting some of those exercises. Um, and so this is, what it looked like. And then the original, I turned it around and I adjusted the levels of it so it was a little bit brighter. Okay. Another tip, if you want to, use that texture or a texture, is I would recommend that you actually save that black and white, something with a lot of contrast, as a grayscale image. This is what I'm doing right now. And then save it out. And I'm going to, I saved out a different black and white image, but I'm going to do, it's black and white too. And I'm going to hit save. So just save that and set it aside, and I'll show you what that could look like. Another idea is if you have a printer at home, or if you are around Staples, you can actually maybe collage this as well, but you can print out part of your title. I wanted to use the rethinking word in my article, so I printed it out at my printer at home. I cut it up and then I retaped it so there's kind of a shift in the letter forms, right? And this one, I printed it out, I crumpled the piece of paper, then I smoothed it out and I took a picture. Okay. This is a picture that I took when I was outside eating lunch somewhere pre-COVID. So I like the texture of the leaves. And this was another picture that I took. It was the ceiling of a movie theater. So I really kind of like that pattern. So, all of these kind of random images, but ideas for you. And then in Photoshop, right, I put the different layers of them. This was one that I didn't use, but here's the leaf layer. This one, it was like a collage layer, but I'm not going to use it. Here is the pattern on the ceiling, and it's really putting it into Photoshop and playing with these layer effects. And then this is the crumpled up piece of paper with the linear light layer effect, right? So you can kind of see how you can play around with these overlapping images, and it's kind of a nice way to add interest to your spread. So once you have that, you can save it out as a TIFF, and then you can bring your TIFF into InDesign. Okay, this is another idea. This was the where the wording was shifted, kind of similar imagery. This time I did include the pattern that I had made. You know, I was playing around with a different layer effect here. And then I put that word image into a layer, and I added a layer effect. And then again, once you find one that you like, you can save it out as a TIFF and then place it in your InDesign layout. Okay, so those are just some ideas for you of how you can use Photoshop, like for your article. Just kind of get creative and think about what could be, you know, relevant within your concept. And so it's a very cohesive article, both in content and visuals. So here, I'm gonna show you how this is kind of evolving. So this was the ink paper roll texture. I had placed it. I'll remove this so you can see it. I'll remove the color as well. Okay, so I had made the rectangle. I'm going to place that texture, and it's a black and white. This will only work with the black and white image. Right, I put it in there, and I wanted to add a color to that image. So you can do that with the grayscale images. And I also wanted to add, let's say, a color of the box, right? So I can actually color the box and the image itself. This was the crumpled up piece of paper, right? I placed it in the layout, and it kind of now adds a little bit of something else, another layer of interest. This is still kind of like my rough, still haven't finished my little skyline. I'm thinking of tracing that in Illustrator. But, you can kind of see the evolution of your article visuals, right? This was another example that I wanted to point out. If you are thinking of spanning or breaking, having type in the middle of your layout, make sure that you try to have it so it's not like the letter isn't right on top of this middle line. That's like the gutter of your magazine spread. I would recommend that you actually have it so it's a little bit in a gap. So if you need to add an extra space, you can try that. But just try not to have it so it's cutting the letter form like this, right in half. But here you can see, the different shapes. There's some nice white space happening here. And if you want to align things or kind of practice using a grid for things, just so you can see, this was my particular grid for my layout, and grids just help you organize things. Okay. So that's, that's what I wanted to share. But, you can definitely play around with Photoshop and use, the materials you have around you, like combining them and making them more that they are, and recolor them, right, in Photoshop, similar to here, because you can. And that's what you're kind of practicing. So if you're interested in, maybe exploring some Photoshop, this could be a nice way for you. So this is using the type. This could also be something that you could do for using, like, for your images. and get really creative with your imagery. The last video I'm going to upload will be for if you want to trace something in Illustrator. Just wanted to kind of circle back and do a little refresher on what that setup could look like. But yep, so have fun with Photoshop.